morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. But no matter what, happy Friday. I think I can say that safely. I think it's still Friday, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Sim. I'm Shaun Cole with my buddy Billy Strange here for Conversation on Sim Racing.
Hola.
Hola. How are you today, Billy?
I am behind. I woke up late, slept awful. It's been a good start to my morning.
That doesn't sound like a good start.
I woke up. It's a good start.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. I'm down with that. So what have you been up to this week?
I have... so since I started doing reviews, there's been nothing to really review this week. So I decided to... I had so much fun when I did the review last week of the Assetto Corsa mod that did the NGT cars versus then I did the GTR2 comparison. I had so much fun with GTR2. I actually went back to GTR2 and started just running random cars in GTR2. And I've started a series. I don't know how long it'll last. Depends on how much people, enjoy watching it. But I kind of said, I'm going to do this on my own. I'll record a little bit and see if anybody's interested. So I started going through the license tests or the challenges. So I've done 3 episodes this week. It is really fun. Like I am just having a really good time driving. And the challenges are, I am a very goal-oriented person. Like I like a finish line to what I'm doing. And so having steps along the way gives me a good goal to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Mike says he's loving the GTR2 content. Okay. Well, a few of you. Thank you. Yeah. Tom wants me to do a monitor review. Review my mic, review my past reviews. There's always things to review.
Review your own reviews. I like that one.
That's right. Oh, if you want to see me just cringe, we could watch my videos together. So I've had a lot of fun doing that. And admittedly, it's something I did when I was a kid before games got really in depth. I used to make a pen and paper RPG to go along with my racing games that didn't have a really good or in-depth career mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about it, and what kicked it off was iRacing with their AI. They have so many series in there that they're literally feeder systems into the Cup series or GT cars, whatever. But the oval side I think is more complete as far as feeder series go. So because they're coming out with AI, I thought I would kind of do the same thing. So I started a pen and paper kind of outlining, starting the lowest series. What is a new car worth? What is a used car? What are tires? How much pit entry fee? What is damage going to cost? And how am I going to do that per X and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of laid down this formula and framework. And when I started playing GTR2, I kind of got the same vibe. Like when I'm going through GTR2, I really like the challenges, but once I get to the racing part, I'd like to try and give myself a goal to keep going. So I started doing the same thing. I started outlining a framework of starting in the NGT cars and then moving to factory teams and whatever. So
and what are you going to do with this?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to do it. That's about it. If people like watching it, I will keep putting it on the channel. But if people don't, I'm just going to do it in my time.
Car PG. Tom Jones just said Billy Strange is making a car PG, and I've told people the original concept of iRacing had that built into it as well. Maybe that one thing. I'm going to cut you off real quick, and we're going to come back to your car PG. But we normally, I'm going to give credit to Brandon Waters, who really got me and Billy together doing this show. And for the first 12 episodes, 16, I don't remember the number, Brandon was here in the audio with us. He was also the one who always made sure we had topics of discussion at the end of the show. Ever since then, it's been on me and Billy, and we've done a pretty good job of one or both of us have an idea. And this is one of those weeks, though, we're a little dry. We don't actually have a big, giant topic of discussion. So I have one half fragmented idea. And if there's anything that you out there, the pit crew, the guys who loyally watch and communicate with us during the show, think that we should discuss at the end, you want to hear our thoughts and opinions, and then we'll put it out there for yours as well, please let us know any ideas you have. But CarPG could almost be a topic of discussion. Like what would it really be, and how detailed? Maybe we can help you with that. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe we just need to find financing. And look at that, I'm already welcoming myself to the Billy RP CarPG.
But you were talking about things that I wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to make video games. Like, right. I wanted to. I remember having the discussion with my brother, who is a few years younger than me, and even my dad, as we're, doing yard work, or even when we were working, there was a period where we were racing RC cars and stuff like that. When we were doing the RC cars, we would talk about, wouldn't it be cool if X, Y, and Z? Well, what I didn't know is one of the first instances of a car PG was actually on the NES. It was called Formula One Built to Win. And it was the predecessor to the guys that ended up doing on the Super Nintendo. It was F1 Rock, which was about you being your own F1 team and then building up your car to compete with the top F1 teams. But on the NES version, I think you started with like a little mini.
Right.
And progressed into racing a Formula One car.
Now that's
and it was kind of that same RPG. So I've always gravitated to things like that because I also play video games. So I do, I understand people that don't play video games and they just want to jump in a car and drive. And we've got plenty of that. So for me, I thought it would be cool if I could come up with a thing. So I'm going to put together like some sort of spreadsheet or something. I don't know if, somebody really wants to get into it. Like we start like, making it a community thing where we start taking ideas and like pushing them together. I have no idea, but I know what I'm going to do. And this is like the basis or the start of it. So I'm going through GTR2. I've finished all of the standard little challenges. Oh, David Payne. Thank you, sir. You sexy.
It means all of you.
Sexy. Let's see. So that's my idea. Right now, the next video will be, they have where you learn the tracks in GTR2. And it's such a good idea still. And it's funny because it's optional. You unlock things like championships and tracks by doing this, but you don't have to.
Right.
So I don't know why we strayed from doing this. I think people just wanted the Insta Now thing, didn't want to bother with it, which I get. You want to just grab your favorite car and your favorite track and you want to go drive. Like, I get it. Because
it could
be
the
inverse. Go ahead.
It could be a gateway to sim racing for a lot of people. So if you really just completely removed the driving aspect. So in my mind, in the new world, I know there are a lot of motorsport manager programs that really focus on the on-track activities and management of the team at just that level, right? And I like the way they play out the race scenario, whether you're involved or you're just watching it from an overhead. And this kind of gets back to the old GT Gran Turismo version too. But it would be really cool to see one of those go deeper into other aspects of the business, and where those things are very simplified. But,
right.
There are a lot of strategy games that do very well, and they're very popular, whether you're talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon, or we talk about City Skylines, and it's like, well, it'd be kind of cool to have, and, maybe in Generation 1, it wouldn't be super deep, because there wouldn't be enough ideas from the original brain and getting it released. But then, release 1 does well, you get some secondary financing, and then you have version 2. And, the depth could be really amazing because it could be every aspect of car racing other than the driving itself, but then still give the scenarios to be able to watch the racing action, just to take it back to the fact that we are racing, And Coaster Tycoon. I mean, you can ride the roller coasters, for example. You know, it's not part of the game per se, but it is part of what you're doing. Anyway, I think it would be really fun. I'm afraid at how sucked in I could get if it was a business tycoon.
If you could just start with my idea for what I'm doing is I want to start with my own. So I'm going to use iRacing because it's a little easier to convey my idea, but start with the street stock. The oval is the easiest. You can do it with anything, but I'm just using this as an example. So start with the oval and the street stock, and you pick your location. You get to pick one home track.
Right.
And then it costs you to travel. It costs you to go to the racetrack. It'll cost you if you start getting crew members, but if you get more crew members, you can make repairs faster. You can make changes to the car easier. You start with a used car. So I would add ballast to the car to slow it down. And then as I buy better whatever, I start taking ballast away from the car.
Right.
To be more competitive, and then have a threshold where I have to finish in the top 5 so many times, or if I get a win, then maybe I pick up a sponsor that will help alleviate my entry fee or my tire bill or fuel bill. And
in the beginning, that's all it is. Because in the beginning, if all you can get is Hoosier to give you tires, you're like, man, I am saving $1,000 a weekend now. You know,
right? So, and then have it where there's other series that are coming in. Maybe when those other series come to your track and you're running your street stock that night, maybe if you win, maybe somebody gives you a back marker deal into the next series, like a late model.
Right.
And then maybe you start getting more sponsors or get enough money that you can go start traveling to other tracks, put yourself in front of other people. And there's crash damage involved. Like I've got all, it's really nerdy. Like I know, why would you do this? Why would you waste your time? Believe me, my brain gets stuck on something. I was up till like 4 o'clock in the morning one night earlier this week, like thinking of these things for the iRacing and the GTR2. Like my brain gets stuck on it and I can't get rid of it. But it gives me like a goal. It's silly. Like for people that just want to get and drive, I know it will not make any sense. But I don't know. I have fun doing that kind of stuff. I have fun engineering that kind of stuff. I think is what I have more fun doing is coming up with the idea and then implementing that idea.
How about this? How about you write your book, your novel? Because it sounds like I know Billy Strange so well. What sounds like it would be starting off on like just a pad of paper with just some notes will end up being a volume this thick.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
So here's what we do. I'm proposing this partnership right in front of the whole world right now. You write the novel, and then we use a combination of captured footage from various games, right? Because and we fake the story, and we fake all the other parts that don't exist, but we just make graphical.
Totally green screen. I have a green screen. I'll totally green screen it.
Yeah, and we'll do all, and we'll fabricate graphics to go along with it, so that we can then shop the idea. And then we'll go as the creative team behind the game, and we'll sell it, and we'll get funding, and you and I will be game developers.
We can do that, or we could just pitch the idea for somebody to add it to their title.
That would be nice, but I don't know if it's as lucrative. I mean,
no.
I think
I don't think any of it's lucrative.
I want a G5, man.
Pardon me. Holy cow. Yeah, I used to have all these ideas when I was a kid. I remember
the Dungeon Master of Sim Racing.
Right? Totally.
Let me get my 20-sided die.
In the back straight away. Do you pull the fire extinguisher? Or do you bail out the side of the car while it's rolling? Death. So yeah, I don't know. I get stuck on things like that, and I just keep going. And to kind of talk about like when I was a kid, I remember like when I was a kid, we would talk about how cool it would be to have a sprint car game, because there were no sprint car games. You had sports cars and you had F1 games, and we're talking like Super Nintendo Genesis days. And then Mario Andretti came out with something and had an old school sprint car in it, and we lost our minds. And that was so hard until you got used to how to do it. But it's that idea process. I mean, I kind of had a similar idea when Forza started really doing well on the 360. I wish that they had a system that you could do online and offline at the same time, so that you would pick a track, because they kind of had something like that to a degree, not as in depth, but what you could do is, I believe, well, I don't remember if they had the system or not. I thought they did, where you could decide going to that race if you wanted to race online or offline.
Uh-huh.
And then you would have all those costs associated. And you still have a ranking system that would determine if you want to go online, like that would be a bigger dollar boost, that kind of thing. So I've always had ideas. It's like, and we all do.
Multipliers.
Like
Those are multipliers.
Yeah, anybody that gets into it has those kind of things. So for, I think Devin said it, for offline stuff, I enjoy that aspect. I enjoy doing that. But in the inverse this week, since I've got a new PC, I've been installing and getting things set up. And I've also been enjoying just taking a car out and just making a few laps with it just because.
Right.
So I've been going through Automobilista, I've been going through Project Cars 2, R Factor 2, ACC, I'm missing one. iRacing. The one that has been impacted the most, that's made the biggest difference with my new system, is, pardon me, R Factor 2.
Sure. Well, that's the one that a lot of people have trouble with on the graphic
Holy
end.
cow. Like, I cranked everything up and went in, and there's a couple things in the, I think it's the player file, that you can change, like the sun will actually not shine through the clouds, and you can change like the sparks and the smoke and stuff like that going over the cars. And so I turned all that on, turned it all up. I know it's dependent on your opinion of their art style, but for its art style, it actually looks pretty good now that I have everything like cranked all the way up.
Sure. Oh yeah.
I was actually
it's gorgeous.
Fairly surprised. So yeah, so I've been doing that. So that's been fun.
If you think of rally games, you take on damage, and they have an aspect of the repair element between stages in many cases. And it would only be one step further to start that path towards what you're talking about in something like that. Like iRacing has their point system. You could monetize that point system. The other funny thing would be in iRacing, if you rack up, if you really crashed your car in an 8 o'clock race, not only would you have the monetization, but you can't race the 9 because your car is still in the garage. But in the rally racing, in a career mode, it wouldn't be hard to not only penalize you time, but penalize you money. So depending on what you're tearing up in your damage, it could affect your overall tally or even bankrupt. I mean, that's the scenario. I mean, I guess you do see that in lower ranked racing plenty, but where teams, end of career, that would be the best scenario of all in a game like this. But that ultimately the number one scenario is become champion of the world, right? Sure. Great.
Mm-hmm.
But the other scenario is the 18 times your team went bankrupt and you had to restart your career and type in a new team name, right? Even if you did the same name, right? But I mean, to me, this is like turning it into a game that would keep people playing, and when you're talking about it, and there even could be a multiplayer element, to it, like you said, offline, online,
Yeah, you could totally incorporate something like that, an offline and an online element to it. So we talk about how much we're into the simulation aspect, but I always have found that we often lack that part of a simulation, and quite frankly, it's something that intrigues me. It's a little bit of that metagame idea. You have all these other things that you have to worry about, and again, I know some people don't want to do that, and we have plenty of stuff to cater to that. But I just think it would be cool if it touched on all aspects in a somewhat realistic manner, not where you're getting prize money that doesn't make sense for a local race. And, I want, a used street stock is going to cost me anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000.
Right.
And a new one's going to be 12 to 15.
Right.
And a used one can be good if I'm a good driver, but maybe I need that little bit of extra new stuff or a new car to really compete, to get my name out there a little more, to start dragging in some sponsors or get myself into a late model.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just using oval as an example. You can do this with anything. Like GTR2, I want to start in like the slowest NGT car and then work my way forward. So
yeah,
I feel like that aspect, while some try to do it, like we could point to Dirt Rally 2.0, we could point to F1, the F1 series. Dirt Rally 2.0 kind of does it, but there's no consequence.
Like Gran Turismo had it with the used cars too, where it was a little less expensive, but it was a little down on power or something. It'd be really, I always enjoyed that in any game, and that's the thing. They've dabbled in it. Like everything you're talking about has been done in like a minuscule scale on a single item basis across the board of motorsport gaming, but no one's really made that part of the main focus. Even if they say it, like in the Codemasters, living the life, it's like, no, it's not, though. It's just not. Right. It's just not even close to it, and it's like, well, I love those games where you get in and you're like, okay, you want to get to that next tier, right? And you're looking at your cash and you're like, well, I can bankrupt myself and buy a brand new car, or I can get in 10 grand cheaper.
Then you have no money to go to the racetrack.
Exactly.
So
and it would be even cool for graybeards. But it would be even cooler if, like, using like late model as an example, if you could visually tell, you're like, oh, that one has the 98 nose cone versus everything after, 2000. They went to that. But it's like the car still qualifies for the series. You just have the dated bodywork, dude. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? We got to set up.
There's all kinds of ways to do this. And I'm surprised nobody's really taken that. It's not like programming a campaign in Resident Evil, like the latest Resident Evil 2, like it's that. Yes, thank you. That is much more intensive because of all the art assets that you have to do. All the assets are already there. You're just creating. It is more work. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying you're creating this funneling path, these options to take and do.
But it's more database work.
People are. I'm just reading the chat real quick. Sorry. People are doing callbacks to Gran Turismo. That was one of the original, one of the more popular car PGs that kind of started everything. They kind of gotten away from that, which is, I think, a little disappointing. Same thing with Forza's actually gone in the opposite direction to me. So we don't really have anything, and we don't have to make the unlocks super serious if people don't want that. I mean, right. I like it because I liked unlocking cars, but maybe it's just an exclusive paint job for passing the test or something. But I tell you what, there was no greater satisfaction for an offline experience when, in the original Gran Turismo, I think there was one license test. I don't even remember where it was. It wasn't maybe it was Deep Forest. I can't remember. I don't think it was Grand Valley, but it was super difficult. And you needed that to get, I think it was the 270. The GTR, the Skyline 270 or whatever it was. There was one test in there that was really hard, which prevented you from getting gold in that whole license. And if you got gold in all that license, like you were the man, like, because you got that car.
Yeah.
Know? And you would brag with your buddies like, hey, I ended up getting that car last night. So I kind of miss that stuff.
Yeah.
But I also understand people, that's not the norm anymore.
That's something else that
do that. So
if you do a game like that, it also, like, I know a lot of games have awards, but I've always felt like significant awards. Like, let's just say you hit the 100,000 mile club in iRacing and you got that trophy or award, which, I think 99% of the people who race iRacing don't realize that there are awards in iRacing. but let's just say that you got that 100,000 mile award. They should be put on your, like where the sponsor, the contingency decals go, should be where we put our marks, like fighter pilots, you know? And it's like, but the big ones, and I'm not talking every significant, but
we would get a win on anything that we raced. My dad's thing was a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
So my brother and I got in a win in anything we raced, we threw a lightning bolt on the car.
And see, these aren't like when you think of a sim, the physics, the tire model, this is the 99% of the work there. That's my number of the day, 99. But everything you're talking about, and this is one of the things I've said a lot of the games, I always point a finger at iRacing, but the database-driven stuff that is all, like you already have all the information is already there. It's just building some stuff to do something with that information. That's it. Because if it's crash damage, cool. How much was it, right? If it's trophies or achievements, cool. Have some kind of graphical interface showing off your accomplishments. The interaction from awards to a symbol or a graphic on your car, same thing. It's like, well, it can put a rookie stripe on your car. It can put my blue stripe on the car. It can put it could just as easily put a check for a win or a 100,000 mile badge or whatever. And again, all of those little details are a step. When I was talking about there being minute versions of what you're talking about in various sims across the board, it's like, well, all these are those little minutes. It's just putting them all together, and then piggybacking it on a decent sim.
So anyway, that's what I've occupied my my week with. Again, I'm having a great time with GTR2. I appreciate the people that are watching it. There's people in chat. Thank you.
Are you driving the Viper?
I haven't even. Well, I did drive the Viper in just goofing around, but right now, in the license tests, it was the Lotus, and now I'm with the BMW hatchback. Remember that thing?
Yeah.
I forget what it is. Z? Is it a Z model?
It was the Z3, but it was like a very special edition of the Z3.
But it had, it's the hatchback.
That's the connoisseur Z3.
Yeah, good Lord, that car is not the best looking thing I've ever seen. But in fact, somebody sent me a picture. Mr. O'Sullivan sent me a picture. Hold on a second here.
They're really tiny.
I want to see if it'll let me. Download this. Hold on a second.
Billy's getting dangerous.
That's right.
If our stream shuts off, it's Billy's fault.
That's funny. Let me see if I can throw this in the chat so you might be able to put it up. Paste, maybe.
James Dowling, yes, they do need to make license. Not only do they need to make licenses harder to get, but other than the pro class, I would love to see them hit the reset button. Just
that car right there.
The data. Okay, hold on. I can pull this off. I am going to open this for the world.
We're doing this on the fly. Sorry for the audio listeners. I'm showing you a picture of the car that I had to use in the last few challenges in GTR 2.
Give me 1 second. We'll switch over to this, and that's the car that... Oh, shoot. Oh, I'm covering our faces. That's okay. We'll be back in a moment. All right. That's the car that Billy is referring to. I love that car. It's a really interesting car. I mean,
it is a very unique car.
Yes. They're tiny for what they are too. When you get up next to one of those, they're tiny, tiny little cars.
But
buddy of mine has it. My buddy Brian has one. He's like 6'5" and he climbs into one of those.
How does he fit in that thing?
It's funny. He's really into like odd exotic cars like Lotuses and things. He fits in nothing he buys. It's pretty funny. Because he's giant, and but he has this thing for tiny little cars. Lotus Elise. He has a Lotus Elise. And like,
holy cow! Wow. Yeah. So anyway, I can never remember what the actual name of that car is, but I remember like as I'm doing the license tests, the video I put out today, which is part 3, all of a sudden it jumps me to this car. I'm all, oh, it's so cute. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I thought this car was ugly. For me, it was not. I like wagons, but this is such a...
It's a lot of nose for a wagon. Like its
but it's
proportions
not
are
a wagon,
wrong.
it's a hatchback, and it's just, yeah, the front end is so, feels like it's so long compared to the rest of the car. Like it reminds me of a bird. Like I freaking toucan driving around the track.
Oh my
But yeah,
god.
anyway, that's what I've done this week. I'm sorry to take up half an hour of our time discussing GTR2 and my stupid pen and paper RPG crap.
Oh, there's a topic for a show. What animal do various cars look like?
That's funny. The Bentley reminds me of a hippo.
Oh my, oh my. So have you been up to anything else? Like I said, we don't have a lot of topics. So today's probably going to be like just an extended version of what we're doing and finish with the news. We'll kind of have an upside down Friday, which sounds kind of fun. In fact, I might carry that mentality through the rest of my day. What else you been up to, Billy?
Really, that's it. I've just been having a good time just driving this week. I'm in all seriousness, I have just had a lot of fun this week driving. Which, this, when you do reviews, when you're doing reviews and stuff, you don't really get to have the same enjoyment.
Right. No, you don't.
As just sitting down and just grabbing a car and just making a few laps. I mean, I was comparing cars. I was like, what does this one feel like? So then I started like going through the Imola for R Factor 2, the one that the Ritza guys helped put in, the older version. Man, is the force feedback good with that track on R Factor 2. They've got like the older tracks have some of the patches and stuff.
Right.
And you can just feel the car just slightly move, and it is really good. So having stuff like that and just trying a bunch of different things, I've just really enjoyed doing this week. So that, and with GTR2, and that's it. I haven't done anything like amazing or all,
All right.
I don't know.
No, but that's beautiful. I mean, because if you are a sim racing entertainer of any kind and you make that your job, like you said, 9 out of 10 times when you're doing it, there's something regimented about what you're doing, which sucks the fun and enjoyment out. I mean, I'm just
even when you're trying to be competitive with in a multiplayer aspect, like an iRacing, or you're preparing for an ACC league race or what have you, R Factor 2. There is a different level, a different kind of enjoyment.
Yes.
The more competitive aspect. And then, I don't know, I'm not a hot lapper. Like, I don't particularly care for it. But for whatever reason this week, because I was having so much fun with the GTR2 stuff, I was like, I'm just going to jump in. I've got this new PC. I'm just going to go through, get everything set up. And I just started driving cars.
Right.
I got to get my field of view set correctly. So in doing that, all of a sudden, I just found myself making laps. And it was fun.
Tom, you asked about my ride. So I'm gonna take a little diversion on what I've been doing because it's been an interesting week for me actually. So this week I haven't been able to do much driving once again, and it's because you guys get to know me too much now that I stream. There's no hiding anything. I lost my mind once again. So what happens in my world is everything's chugging along, everything's normal, everything's great. I got this race coming up, I'm editing that, I'm doing this, and then something comes up, gives me a crazy idea, and then everything else stops because I'm all in on my new idea. So, Devin Booth, I want to thank you very much for some help you've been doing behind the scenes. And now I'm going to take a tangent because it has nothing to do with the only driving I've done all week, by the way, and we kind of all joked about it on Wednesday's show, but was my run at the F1 2019 qualifier for the 2020 competition just to see what they were doing. And I ran the Roman Grosjean challenge, and I got top 33% after getting comfortable and maybe giving it about an hour of a go. So, I mean, I could definitely do better, but I gave it a solid effort, so it's not like, I'm not ashamed and I'm not proud of that time.
I mean, you didn't just drive 2 hours and return it?
No, I kept that game. It's a keeper for me. So then, and this comes back to my platform that I built, which was another one of those Shaun Cole obsession tangents that ruined everything for last week and now this week. So I, as most of you guys know, stream to Twitch and to YouTube. And they're totally different environments, to be honest with you. If you really look at what most people do on YouTube, it's one way, and Twitch is... And what I've been doing to Twitch, quite honestly, is just not Twitch, right? It's just the opposite of what Twitch wants. So my thinking was, how do I create a better Twitch presence? Like, I don't want to migrate to Twitch because I enjoy YouTube.
Your audience is here, though. I mean, that's kind of...
Right. But I feel like at the same time, to be relevant in 2020 maybe, that you better have a platform at Twitch as well. Because I'm not 100% sure how things are going to play out in the future. So how do I do that? I can't just continue restreaming the same thing. And technically that's illegal, by the way. You're not allowed to just...
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
So the only reason I'm getting away with it is because I'm under everyone's radar. So, thank you, Devin, once again. Anyway, long story short, we came up with the idea of changing the Twitch channel to being more, and I changed the name the other day, to Shaun Cole in the Pit. And it's going to be the fly-on-the-wall camera.
It makes me, thanks, Mr. Tom Jones. I don't always donate, but when I do, it's Shaun and Billy.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. I totally lost what I was going to say. Damn it.
Oh.
But you were talking about, Shaun in the Pit. It sounds like you're going to go to all these metal shows and be in the pit.
Oh, like in the mosh pit.
In the mosh pit. That's all I can think of. Shaun stomping around in the mosh pit.
I can't do my rage on stream, so I'm taking it to the pit.
That's right. I start to laugh more and more the more I think about it.
No, but I was kind of thinking, like, when I do the news in the morning, for example, the Monday and Wednesday show, I'm on a green screen now. So I thought, well, everyone's watching that on YouTube. That's where I'm comfortable. It's what I do. But what if the Twitch one went live an hour before when I was actually looking for stories and just BSing with people about it? And you're seeing the green screen because you're not the production side. You're more on the camera side of the business now.
It's like a before and after show.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, even today's show, like right now, it would be you'd be hearing us right now because you would have watched me getting ready for this show. You would, and then like during the day, I might switch from driving to editing. So people learn editing skills. They'll learn streaming skills. They'll learn the tricks because they're going to see and hear.
I want to know what people have actually learned. Have you done this yet?
No. Okay.
I was going to say, I want to know what people have actually learned about you.
It might be a flop. I don't know. It might be a total disaster. But I kind of like it because at least it's the mentality of what Twitch is all about. It's exactly like as long as I'm communicating with that group independently, it's exactly what Twitch is for and what it's about. So for sim racing, like a sim racing show on Twitch, that's exactly what it should be in my mind after watching what people do on Twitch. It comes back to the platform because in order to do that, now I'm moving things around. I mean, my room is like one of those number puzzles, or Tetris. And they'll be watching all that too, by the way, because the camera's just seeing the whole studio from afar, and I'll be on a wireless mic.
I'm gonna really have to wear pants now. I
know. I've given thought to a few things that would need to be taken into consideration, we'll say, for producing this. So anyway, I tested it with this laptop that is sitting right here, and it was chugging. Even though this laptop's supposed to be awesome, it's not. So, and this is why I've lost way too much time doing this. So I recently did a full computer upgrade. So I rebuilt 2 different computers here at the studio. One brand new from scratch. One was a complete overhaul. And I retired another computer in doing all that. So I pulled that carcass out, which still had a really good water-cooled i5 and a 1080 for the win video card. Not a Ti, but a 1080. And I'm like, it just needs some RAM and a power supply and a hard drive, and that's a computer right there. So I went and got all that stuff and rebuilt that computer, and I'm now putting a third computer, and I'll be up to either 6 or 7 monitors in this room and doing this. But I'm going to get that up and running over tonight, behind tonight over the weekend, and maybe launch something as soon as next week with some daytime and nighttime streams of just what's going on in the pit. Shaun Cole in the pit.
Neon Knight, I'm gonna steal that name. I like that name because he said it should have been Shaun Cole behind the wall. I'm gonna steal behind the wall.
It was gonna be it was gonna be beyond the pit, but I forgot and made it in the pit. It was gonna be Shaun Cole. I have to wait 60 days to change the name. It was gonna be beyond, because I wanted to tie it into this show too. So I was like, oh, I'll call it Beyond the Shaun Cole Beyond the Pit.
I still can't help but think about you just leveling people in a mosh pit.
That'll be my intro. I'll green screen me.
You should totally take a green screen and show a mosh pit, and then you just stomping around in front of the green screen like you were in the mosh pit. I would die laughing. That would be so good.
Oh, too funny. Tom Jones. Yeah, you wonder why I'm always sweating. And yeah, in power supplies alone, I'm at like 2,800 watts just in power supplies. So that doesn't get to steering wheels, motion sims. It doesn't get to lighting or monitors. So yeah, it's hot. The sweat pit, exactly.
Or it could be the swear pit.
The swear pit. No, we don't. Oh, that's the other thing. I can swear on Twitch. So that camera, there's no push-up rule. Not that I'm that foul-mouthed, but yeah. So yeah, it'll be watching it from afar, simultaneous. So if I'm live on YouTube, that would still be live, but it wouldn't be the same feed, which is totally legal also. So I'd never be hit with doing anything illegal by either parties.
I see.
So anyway, we're going to try that out. Yeah, Shaun effing Cole. So, F you YouTube is what I'll be yelling on Twitch all the time.
Wow.
Well, Tom said that. I didn't say that.
So sure.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I'm really happy about it. But like I had that Thrustmaster Ferrari headphone review, which I wasn't going to do. Funny enough, it's just that every time I wear them, people ask me about the headphones. I'm like, well, I might as well do the review then. So I have that review like 3/4 done. Like it's halfway done in editing, meaning it's that close to the finish line. And then I got obsessed. And even to be honest with you, this morning I woke up and I'm like, I can't do the show today. Like, I got to move. This room is a disaster. I'm not going to be able to like get everything where it belongs and everything turned on and right. And it took an amazing effort this morning to be here. And
I was going to say, but you did it.
I did it, and as soon as the show's over, I'm going to tear it all apart again and finish this project. Because I got that computer built, but now I need... Because if I can get it built, I can turn it on tonight, like during the truck race. And like be there before... Anyway, just play around. So for the first week, it's all going to be, we'll call it the pilot version, and see how it goes. See if... I don't know. Like I said, it could be a total train wreck. It could be totally boring and worthless. And it could be...
You'll never know unless you try.
You never know unless you try. Exactly. So, and that's really been my entire week.
I mean, it's all related.
It's all related.
Sometimes people get a little too much, YouTube or behind the scenes knowledge. Sometimes they listen to, a guy that's about to turn 40 talk about doing pen and paper RPG crap.
Shirtless Shaun Cole. I have a couple famous streams where I somehow went live when and in both
that was the best.
And in both cases they're the most unfortunate moments, because it was like midsummer. I'm running around my house like shirtless because it's hot. And just so you guys all know, I'll just tell you guys how that happened. That was when I was exploring streaming in the beginning, and I had mapped a bunch of keys to activate OBS instead of using a Stream Deck. And so if I accidentally went to Discord and typed a message...
That is fantastic.
That's exactly how it happened every time. I never knew they were on. I would usually find out they were on because someone would send me a text, like someone who was a friend
Hey,
who's like,
yo.
"Do you know you're live?" You know?
The best.
Anyway,
It's awesome.
should we take a break and then come back to news, or should we get into news and take a break? What do you think?
You know what? We got a lot of news to cover, actually, everybody. Why don't we do our quick intermission so you can hum your elevator music while we do that. But yeah, we've got actually quite a bit of news to cover.
And some that we want
So
to talk about too. So,
yeah,
yeah,
why don't
let's.
we take a quick fiver?
Excellent. Everybody, get out there. Go to the bathroom, have a smoke, walk the dog, whatever you need to do. We'll be back in 5. And we are back. I hope everybody's comfortable.
At some point, we're just going to have to do something funny when we come back. It's going to have to be like somebody's not ready, or I don't know. We're going to have to do something ridiculous.
We'll both be in Care Bear costumes.
Whoa. OG Care Bears.
All right.
All right, so we got some news to cover.
Yeah, we do have some news today. You start things off. I'd like you to start things off today.
Oh. Oh boy. Let me hit the play button on my end here for what I'm gonna see. So the how do I start this? Grid has obviously been giving us some footage and photos to get us pumped up for their release, right? So they announced the other day that they're gonna have IMSA prototypes in this version of Grid. They named specifically the DPI, and I'm like, that's really cool. And then I thought to myself, that really irritates me.
That was quick.
Well, so number one, they're showing them on this terrible street circuit for the car. Understand that it's not a terrible street circuit. It's just showcasing the car with this particular street circuit instead of showing us like an actual race circuit with these cars I don't know. I would just prefer it a little differently. There's nothing wrong with the actual track though. And it's really nothing wrong with them having these cars either. But what it made me do was go, how come I can't have the DPI in something a little bit more serious?
Proper?
They kind of that's an LMP2 car, I think, is what R Factor 2 released. I don't think it's technically a DPI.
Right. These are drift DPIs, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Mo Hughes, thank you very much. Just want to make sure we catch you there. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Well, this was my concern and issue this was my concern and issue with Grid, and for me to go back in time, I know every developer's free to go the path they want to go, but I'm free to have an opinion as well. Grid is Codemaster's opportunity to have fun, and I'm just like, so why didn't you build everything about this game about fun? And why didn't you, if you want to get these cars, how come this isn't a DLC add-on pack to F1 2019? And I'm just saying, because that's where I'd like your serious content to be. And I'm asking a lot, but you guys have more diversity in titles than any other developer. So when I'm like, okay, you have your dirt, and you even have your fun and your serious dirt. You've got your hardcore serious open wheeler, cool. And then you've got Grid. And I mean, now, maybe the kids won't see it that way. Maybe the kids will be like, oh, well, that's great. I want to drive that fast car too.
I kind of wish they didn't put these cars in there, but it's fine, right? It's not, I don't know. I'm so conflicted. I have a hard time.
Well, so are they.
Not right. It's just like, what was it? Real Racing 3 or whatever said that they had the IMSA license and they had the GTD cars. It's like, but God damn it. Why am I not getting that as a package in something else that will actually drive like a car?
Right.
I was just like, so this gives me the same feeling. Like, I really would like the DPI.
Have you seen those shows on all the Cuban hot rodders? Like old beat up American cars, but they can't, and they keep them running and they race them down in Cuba. I've seen a few and it's like,
yeah.
That's the car I want to drive at the Havana track. Funny enough. It's like, give me that old Bel Air that has an Oldsmobile motor and, some mismatched of tires and wheels. But that's what they're doing in Cuba. And cool, give me Havana and give me the whole thing. That car will never see that track ever.
Right. So I know it looks like Dan and Devin were talking about it. I like the old style of Grid, the original one was probably my favorite. I liked Autosport. I didn't much care for 2, but I like the original grid. I like the idea behind that. And again, I think they're missing the boat. The drifting in that game was actually really good.
I'd rather see
And
your car.
I have yet to see drifting
right
in this game, and it's
and
like,
it
that's
should
a
be.
shame.
It should be a whole division of this game, to be honest with you, in my opinion. If I were a game, director on this one for Grid, I would be like, all right, well, that's okay, but I would rather see a stickered up version of your Hellcat in this game.
Sure.
I'd rather see a whole drift series in this game. And again, this, to me, and this is why it strikes me funny, is that, again, I feel like this was an opportunity for Codemasters to have fun, to stretch their legs, to break some ceilings or walls or restraints that they've had on other titles, and say, you know what, it is okay to jump through a flaming hoop. It is.
Well, it's not like Greg and Devin are talking about in chat. It had arcade elements, absolutely, but
yes.
There was a slight, but to the actual handling model that was implemented, it still had a level of depth to it that you had to still kind of treat it like an actual car. You couldn't just mob around and just hold the throttle down. But the idea is we're going to give you kind of the extreme environments for these cars, and we're going to give you some over the top stuff, but you still gotta have a little bit of car control here. And that's, I think, what made the first Grid fun. And I think the problem here is you're taking a DPI, a thing that is meant to be stuck to the track in a racing environment, and you're sliding around and you're smashing curbs and all that stuff. And it's like, maybe to a person that is not familiar with prototypes, maybe it doesn't matter.
Right.
But to me, I'm kind of like, all this time and energy is wasted on doing that. Like, put that in if you're going to make a Grid Autosport 2, put it in that.
Right.
Don't put it in this. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, I'm 100% with you on this one. And it was the minute they started releasing information, I was like, oh man, they're just so not on the path that I would have gone. And it was like, just from the very, very get-go, I kind of felt like that, unfortunately.
Dan and people are talking about Test Drive Unlimited remakes. There's supposed to be a new Test Drive coming out. It's in development.
And a new Need for Speed.
That's right.
But here's the game of games that I want. I want a modern version, because it came out so before it could be done the way it should have been done. I want Driver You Are the Wheelman 2020. Combination of stunt driving and getaway driving and using this more open world that exists, because back then there was like only 1 or 2 games even trying, and now it's just like, oh, open world, no problem. Man, that game could be fun. My brother's been playing, again, I look at other games for inspiration. I know you do as well. My brother's been playing Just Cause 4, which is a really weird but really cool game. And it's got all these stunt elements throughout the entire open world. And I know a lot of games have that kind of stuff, but Driver the Wheelman was really strict about what type.
Driver was great. For the 18 frames a second it ran at.
That's a thing. And like the hardware it supported was like really poor, and I think I had to use my ACT Labs wheel to make it work. Like that was the wheel that worked best on it, but it was like, who owned one of those? That was one of the most obscure wheels.
I just used the gamepad. Speaking of which, as a slight diversion to this topic but related, I was talking with Brandon this weekend, and I have been in the works of doing retro content.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brandon and I were kind of talking about it back and forth. I'm trying to get a game plan of what titles I'm going to cover and how many and in what order and this. So I'm still bouncing all that around. But I just ordered. I have all these different retro machines that make these games HDMI compliant.
Okay.
I have like the Sega Genesis version and a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo, but they're not those things, but they're using the actual hardware. They're not emulation. But I have one coming this month that will do PlayStation 1. It will do like Sega CD, the TurboGrafx CD stuff. So all the older disc-based games, it will do all those. It will play all those. And then I just ordered a deal where you plug it into the HDMI port, and then you plug your HDMI cable into this. It actually is a graphics card.
So it ups the graphics?
So yeah, so it upscales, and not only that, it takes care of any aliasing, it does color correction, it does it's amazing. It does all these things. I'm like, holy cow. So it's really cool. So I just ordered one of those. That'll be here next month.
So you can go back and play some Pitfall?
Well, I'm right. I am intrigued to see if anybody is interested. I kind of want to make it part documentary, part me, like not really a review, but just talking about as I'm playing it.
Right.
And just kind of giving some anecdotal things, but show gameplay footage. And I'm just really kind of excited. I also bought a new thing for my Dreamcast. That's the best solution I've found to date. I've got several different solutions for the Dreamcast, but I just got a new one that does an all-in-one. Most of the solutions were you had to separate audio and all this kind of stuff. This one is an all-in-one, and it puts out an HDMI signal now. And so to take that and then use the little graphics card thing that I plug in, I think it's going to be really cool, but who knows?
Oh, well, that sounds fun.
So yeah, I'm working on that stuff. All right. Anyway, I guess that's all on Grid.
All right. Codemasters. Well, I guess more specifically, the F1 eSport series. That's not Codemasters. That's the official series. As you know, qualifying is underway. Hey, look at that, Brian Ostrike. Thank you very much, Brian.
Oh, thank you, sir.
They are doing a giveaway. So if you would like to go to the 2020 F1 Australian Grand Prix, I can think of 1,000 reasons I would like to go to the F1 race in Australia. I would take the trip, and you can even keep the tickets. I would like to go to Australia. That sounds fun. Anyway, but they're doing a whole thing. So you can go to the F1 eSports Series page and how to enter, just 3 steps between you and a spot at the fantastic event. Step 1, register. All right, which I think I've already done.
Step 1, be alive. Be breathing.
Have a pulse. Step 2, officially enter the eSports Series. Opt into the prize draw by selecting the checkbox on your driver profile. That's why I thought I've already created a profile, because if you entered their competition, you had to create a profile. And then C. So I've done 2 of the 3 already. Or no, I've done 1. I just have to click that mark. And then 3, complete at least 1 lap.
Just got to do 1 lap, man.
The 5, I've done it all. I just have to go click it, and I can go to Australia.
There you go.
I'm going. I'm going to manifest my destiny. You know what?
You're going to Australia?
Yeah, you guys don't. Never mind. You don't have to enter. I'm gonna win.
Well, no, you just should show up there, and they'll hand you the tickets.
Where are my tickets?
I demand. I'm in control of my own destiny.
You would win.
That's right, sir. Please play.
2 3-day grandstand. Oh, that's it? What about my VIP? 2 3-day grandstand tickets to the 2020 Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix. Paddock access for both you and your companion. Oh, they think I have a friend. Accommodation plus return economy flights for 2.
It's so nice to assume that I have a social life.
Ooh, I even like the runner-up prizes. 1 New Balance F1 eSport t-shirt. I'd wear that. A pair of New Balance eSport branded shorts.
All right. What kind of shorts are they, though?
I don't know.
Are they the mid-thigh shorts? Are these running shorts? I mean, not quite sure.
They're kind of like some old school dolphin shorts,
Dolphin shorts.
1 pair of New Balance.
Technically Speedos. Here's my F1 eSport.
And I have to look this one up, the 9978 shoes. I like New Balance shoes. That's what I was getting at. The bottom part of that was
good shoes.
Yeah, I'll take a new pair of New Balance shoes for sure. And a tracksuit. So you could run around your F1 eSport tracksuit.
Oh, yeah, and then you can just rip them off and you're in your shorts.
And you're in your dolphin shorts. You know what? I'm just going to tell you, if anybody does win the runners-up, I'm going to give you a little fashion tip right now. That is not actually all meant to be worn together at the same time. That would be
I would
too much.
Disagree.
Anyway, not to take away from the story, you guys could win a trip to the F1 race in Australia. That is cool. 90s
Rick says, he says maybe you can win a friend.
That would be worth so much more than going to Australia to just have a friend.
I want a friend. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's the best.
All right.
Holy cow. I love it. I love our Friday talks. Sometimes we're therapeutic and sometimes, well,
sometimes we send you to therapy.
Week happened.
Yes.
Last week happened.
I did not get any hate mail. I actually expected if there's ever a time that I was going to get some email from someone saying, dude, you've crossed the line, which has happened once and only once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I there was a show that caused email. Dude, yeah. Anyone guess? I'll give guesses. I'm ordering new SImpit stickers. They're going to be a little while till I get them, but I'm ordering new SImpit stickers. I will send a sticker to the first person who can guess what show caused the most hate emails and what are you doing, questioning what I'm doing emails of any show I've done.
So. I have likewise gotten one or two of those, but those are mainly from manufacturer representatives, let's say.
Oh, I disqualified those. I've gotten a few of them.
So then I haven't really got one.
This was public outrage. This was my fans.
Okay. Whoops.
The Care Bear show. No, it was not the Care Bear show. That one where Shaun was in North and South Korea. He was told he crossed the line. Oh, Car Heroes! Troy gets it. Troy, contact me. I will send you a sticker. It was the drunk driving show when I got bombed on vodka while sim racing. I got like a dozen emails from people saying, dude, that's irresponsible. How dare you promote drinking and driving? And I'm like, I thought I was doing the opposite, to be honest. I literally did. Like, when I planned the show, I'm like, this is kind of showing people you really shouldn't drink and drive. And even you shouldn't even sim race and drink.
Wow. Okay.
So
I think that's a little sensitive on people's part, but that's fine.
All right, on with the news. What else we got, Billy?
Well, I think I share the excitement that most people do, at least. And Ritza's talking about Automobilista 2. Actually, Mike did a quick, for Sim Racing 604, did a quick post about their comparison video. So we'll get there in just a second. But they're talking about doing some small little updates and fixes. They said they still have an update coming for Automobilista 1 that has Snetterton and Donington Park. But that is not, they were hoping to have it out last month. Hasn't quite hit the mark there. Seems to be a running theme with most developers. Ambitious goals. I like it, but maybe a little more perspective on how long something's going to take.
I just saw the greatest news ever.
Okay.
Kyalami. Grand Prix. I have been waiting for this track to make its return to sim racing.
Well, it technically, if I remember right, I think a version of it is in Automobilista 1. The old version. I can't vouch for the new version, but I think there's an old version.
Was it a mod, or was that a mod, or that was from them?
I do
vaguely remember there being one, but I wasn't impressed at the time.
I could be completely incorrect on this because it's been so long, but I thought I remember driving a version, and it could be way off base, but I was taking like retro Formula 1 cars around this thing, and I thought it was cool.
Oh, look at the Supercars.
That could be wrong. Anyway,
Have you ever driven a supercart? One of those full winged aero go-karts with a 250?
I have not gotten a chance. I was supposed to drive one the last time I actually raced my 125 shifter. I helped this guy get it out of his trailer. He didn't have a ramp. Those things are heavy.
It's a car.
It is.
It reminds me of a Formula SAE car. I mean, it's like, wow, it's almost as big.
So here's the good and bad thing. Okay, diversion. Sorry.
I love our show.
Thing about those is I was looking into getting one because I was like, man, it would be really cool on these road courses to have a 250 or a, I mean, some guys are running 400s, whatever it is. In there, so that's full body work with a wing and the radiators back here and the whole right, and they're all laid out in there. I'm like, boy, on these big road courses, I'm already doing like 115, 118 in the draft and just a standard cart.
Right.
We don't get to run like the fairings. We don't get to lean back.
No, and you're all upright. Your radiators sitting out there in the air. Yeah.
So it has to be no more than 55 degrees for our lean back on the radiator and the seat. So I'm short, so I don't have some of the aero problems some of the other guys do.
Right. Yeah, when I did big tracks, I would super tuck like under, and I can get my.
To do that.
Oh, you aren't?
We can't even do that. No, we're not allowed to do that because there were guys like taking their butt and moving it all the way to the tank and then like tucking in.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we're not allowed to. You're not even technically allowed to bump draft.
Now I was able to get to there so that I could get my helmet.
We are not allowed to tuck our head down or anything.
Wow.
So I'm watching these guys, and most of them can't drive, but there are two guys that are running, you know, in the club that we're a part of, and they just scream around the track. I was like, that would be really. I want to do that.
Right.
So I started. Brand new. They're as much as a sprint car. I just about lost it. I was like, oh, I could go sprint car racing again for one of those. I mean, and they've got all the bells and whistles where it's fly-by-wire throttle and hydraulic shifting. Like you're not, it's just ridiculous. I mean, but the good part is you can find these things for cheap.
On the used.
Yeah. So I almost went to Bakersfield and grabbed one like a year and a half ago because it was like $5,000 and the thing had 4 races on it. I was like, Nicole would kill me if I came home with another cart.
You know, when I shifted,
I would love to run one.
When I ran shifters, I was in the ICC class, so we were a lot faster than the motos. And so whenever I'd race in multi-class racing, which was often, it would end up that way, on the big events or the big like California Speed Festival events and things like that. And I was used to blowing by. Like I was always in the fastest cart, you know. We didn't get passed. We were the passers. We were the LMPs. Mm-hmm. And I did one event where they opened it up to those guys, and I keep wanting to call him Wayne Rainey. He's the Ferrari guy. Was it Kevin Rainey, who was a Yamaha factory motorcycle racer?
No, I thought it was Wayne.
Was it Wayne? All right.
I'm pretty sure it's
okay.
Wayne.
Well, he went on to start racing these because he, can't use his legs.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this factory Yamaha 250 Aero, and that thing went by me so fast that it literally scared me. Like I was like, oh my God, what was that?
When
like
somebody knows what they're doing with one of those, they are incredibly like we already lap with just our 125 shifters. We're already lapping almost as fast at some of the tracks that are a little tighter as like almost like a GT3 car. I mean, we're faster than a GT4. I mean, these guys come out here with their hot cars and do track days, and we just smoke them because our corner speed is so much faster. So watching the supercart guys is just, when there's somebody that knows what they're doing, it is so impressive. It is so cool to watch those things run.
Yeah, Heiko said in the 94 supercart pole sitter would have been second row for the F1 grid that year.
Uh-huh.
And I was just going to say, a lot of track records are actually held by these go-kart things. I say things because I'd argue they are no longer, but they don't have suspension. That's, I think, what keeps them as a go-kart.
Yep. Still, direct in the steering. There's nothing helping them there. It's just the idea of the cart I just thought was cool. Like I sat in this guy's and I was like, I would love to drive this thing. Like I don't say anything because I'm not trying to be all, let me drive your cart. But I was just like, man, I already know like what we do. Like, so we run multi-class when we go to the big tracks.
Yeah.
So like a Button Willow, Laguna Seca, this kind of stuff. So we run multi-class. So we will run R125 shifters with the supercart guys, and then like sometimes it'll be like the 125s, the touch and go, no shifting.
Yep.
And me and probably like 3 other guys are faster than almost all of the supercart guys,
right?
Because they're heavier. They have to slow down so much earlier, and you have guys that aren't really pushing them that hard,
right?
We're running the piss out of our 125.
Yeah, you're on the edge the whole time.
So it's a back and forth game, though. You haul. I can go around the outside of a supercart, the guys that aren't as fast,
right?
But I'll go around the outside, and then, boy, they just blow by me on the straightaway, and so I'll tuck in behind them trying to, get the draft, and they'll start pulling me along, and then we come to the corner, and I just drive around the outside of them again. It's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'm sure I'm irritating them, but it's fun on my part.
Oh yes, the good old days. If I had the space, I would probably. I swore off karting for a long time. I actually got the fear with karting, so I was like, oh, I got to get away from this. It started to get me, scared. So, but now I'm like, oh man, if I had the space, I would love to have a cart that I could just drag out and just not even care race. Like, don't chase the money, don't do any of that. Just go run for fun and not worry about where you place. Just go have the fun of racing, the inside outside.
I have a hard time doing that. I can't not try and be competitive.
I don't know if it would last very long. Lemons has taught me that. I mean, when you enter a Lemons race in a Volvo, you're like, we have no chance, right? It's like 0. Oh, speak of Lemons.
Oh, real quick, Dan says, do they allow carts to run with cars on track day? No, we have to run at separate times, but they will do they'll have like the Corvette club, or they'll have like clubs out there. They get to go run, and then when they're done, then we have a track session. We'll run our races, and those guys, it's my favorite thing. These guys come out with their hot street cars and stuff, and they think they're so fast, and then, a handful of us with our 125 shifters, they'll come over and they'll be like, oh, those are cute. Literally, that's the words. Oh, yeah, I'm sure those are cute. Those are fun. And then we just destroy their lap times, and they're like, I don't understand. So then they go back out, and these guys then start running off in the dirt and stuff because they're trying to beat our lap times.
Right.
And it is really funny.
I'm racing at Laguna in the Chevy powered Lotus.
Nice.
Yes, on the 28th and 29th, which means I might not be able to do a show on 30th. You and I will talk about that later. Back to Automobilista too, though, because I think we kind of diverted topics as fast as I saw Kyalami and shifter carts. This is one of the things I'm more with what I've been hearing and the path they're on with Automobilista. They have broken that, were this Brazilian or South American eccentric title, and gone mainstream from one of the best groups in sim racing, that the lack of appeal for it, one of the lack of appeals for it and its success in the past was that it was South American centric. So people are like, wait, where's the Chevy and the Ford? Where's the Monza and the, And so now when I'm seeing, like, here's a photograph of Snetterton, here's a Kyalami coming, we're seeing some of the same and a selection of other cars, but these guys have just always been one of the best at massaging physics and getting it to where the 9 out of 10 people who drive the game love it. So everybody who plays Automobilista loves Automobilista. I mean, like, the amount of people are like, Automobilista sucked, are like, none. There are people who maybe never bought it, but I just, so now...
Yeah, I like Automobilista.
The whole move to the Madness engine, it'll be kind of interesting to see, because, we can say a lot of good and bad things about Project Cars, too, if we really get on an honesty kick about it, right? Will this be like, and so you have to go back to the past, and you have to think R Factor 1, and you have to think Automobilista. And then there were a lot of really good mods that you could compare to, the good content. And there was a lot of crap mods. But then Automobilista at least gave you that massage package. Here's a selection of cars and tracks with really, really cared for physics, and it made a difference because R Factor's content from R Factor was like almost none. I mean, there's very, very little content from R Factor. It was all the modding world. Unlike R Factor 2.
Well, like Dan said, though, I'm sorry, Mike, it's still going to be South American centric. I don't think they're going to get away from that a whole lot. I think the tracks, they do a pretty good job of grabbing other tracks. I think it's the cars that they're not.
Yeah, the cars, for the most part,
still going to be really rooted in Brazilian motorsports.
Yes.
So with that said, I'm still looking forward heavily because I really like the first Automobilista. I'm really looking forward to number 2 here. So to finish this off, they've posted some screenshots of original and then Automobilista 2, so you can see like skies a little better. The one thing I would caution is they again, Mike from Sim Racing 604 kind of he posted a thing on his YouTube deal saying, what do you guys think? Here's the comparison. So they have a video comparing the track that they're bringing, because it's not out yet.
Here it is. Oops.
And original Automobilista, and then they show AMS2 running on the Madness engine. And I think it's a little underwhelming, unfortunately.
It always looks a little flat to me.
Well, that's the problem is Snetterton is not a great judge of, how things are going to look because there's no variety really. I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to show you upcoming content for both, but it's not that, it's just kind of a flat, the track is not boring, but aesthetically it is a boring circuit. So I don't know if this was the best way to show this. Plus YouTube compresses, YouTube compresses the crap out of the graphics. So it's kind of hard to, in my opinion, it's kind of hard to judge.
Right.
I think I like the cockpit better in Automobilista 2. I like the engine sound much better in Automobilista 1, though. I don't know why developers have this trend of giving us a very thin, flat, kind of muted sound because they think that's what it's, that's what we hear when our helmet's on. I don't want to hear that.
Right. I want to hear the sound I hear at the pipe.
I want to hear what the thing sounds like that I think the car should sound like. I don't care that really when I'm in the car it's going to sound like a tin can.
Right.
I don't, that it's not compelling to me. It's annoying. I mean, there are things in real racing I wish I could tune out because they don't sound good.
Well, and here's the other thing. If there's one thing
I to sound like I think it should sound.
If there's one thing you could change about racing, it would be, well, I would, if I could race without a helmet, I would prefer it, right? Obviously I wouldn't because of safety. But it's like I want to hear what I really want to hear. I want to hear the tires. I want to hear the motor. I don't want it all muffled inside of my safety cocoon for my head. I think that's a reason why for a long time people didn't do full helmets, was to be able to continue to hear. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's an area where I think the gamey games do a better job of.
They need to have a depth to them. Mm-hmm. They need to sound, in my opinion, they always need to sound like they are on the verge of exploding.
Yep.
Like when you put a load on an engine and it is just,
Oh yeah.
You're on the throttle and it has this grunt. Even if you're running like a little 4-cylinder, it has a grunt to it.
Yep.
That is not often conveyed with simulators for some reason.
Right.
And I think that's why I did that sound comparison when I was doing the WTCR stuff. And one of the things that I pointed to was older content I thought had a little bit better sound. And it was the depth and the grunt and like that the engine being on the verge of just sound like it's just going to come apart.
Yeah.
You got a little bit more of that out of, I don't
Alex
know.
sounds all cars sounds like V10s. Exactly. Like they're just all, you know,
Right.
um you know, and I think of like my shifter car, I think even my Datsun when I really, really push it, it's like when you take a tuned motor of any kind and push it to its limits, as much as it'll keep going, it sounds like the whole top is just gonna frag out of it. I mean, it's like
Yes.
you can hear it just like on the verge. And I think yeah, and Tim says that that's one of the things that makes Race Room really good. I think that Race Room does a really good job of adding that vibrance and that thing. I mean, quite honestly, why do I love cars? Sounds is a big part of it. It's why I'm not a huge fan of modern cars, because I'll give you a great example. Somebody not in the new mid-engine Vet, but like last year's Vet, really nice one. You know, like the tricked out Vet, and he launched it heavy up the street by me. And right when he got off the line, it sounded cool for a moment, and then it jumped through 8 gears so fast that I never even heard the car sing. And it was like, man, I know it's working its torque. It's doing what it does to get the most out of it, but they've
Right.
also robbed the beauty of automobiles to me, which is that singing that they do when they start getting into some RPMs. And it's like the new cars just don't run RPMs like they used to, you know, which is smart. You're looking, again, you're on the torque band, not the horsepower band.
Yeah, but even
you know,
then, they still have a sound that I don't know. There's a groan and a grunt. Like the motor is not struggling, but it is.
right.
It's an if you've never had the pleasure of actually running a car at its hardest, when it's under load, under traction, and you're going through a corner and it's actually trying to lose traction because of the
Yes.
little bumps and everything. So you're getting this little like you
Yeah.
you
Oh, I
you
love
haven't
that.
lived, my friends, if you haven't experienced
That
that. But
dude, I got chills just kind of thinking of that very
hey,
moment. You know,
there's
oh,
out of all the things I've driven, that nothing like the sprint car when it is grabbing traction, and because of how it's so uneven, it just sits there and goes, and all of a sudden it comes out of the corner, so and
yes.
it just sings at like 8,800, 9,000 RPMs, and this big, almost 1,000 horsepower V8. And this stupid 1,375-pound car, it's basically lifting the front. You can't feel the front end, and the motor is just pulling hard, but it is singing. It's and to hear it go through the corner where it's unloading and loading, and it's just grunting as it's going through the corner is just something that, if you've never gotten to experience taking a car on a track, not even the sprint car, but just a car in general, where it's grabbing the track and it's trying to release because it's under so much load that it's trying to break the tires free, but it's not totally.
And you hear how
And
much the tire grip is preventing the engine from lunging.
yes,
Right? And that the back and forth between those two, like there's a seesaw going on between harnessing all the power and all the traction at the same time. And it's just this like gripping, grinding, ripping, beautiful harmony that like, to quote Tim Allen, you know, I'm just like, oh, I love that. I love it so much.
Yep. Anyway, so unfortunately, when I watched this, I think they didn't do themselves any favors, and I hate to say that because I don't think this is necessarily indicative of the product that they're hopefully going to put forth.
Right.
I just, as a marketing person, this would not have been my choice, because I think it caused more confusion than excitement. And I think it was JT, if I remember. Yeah, so many people got mad at me on Race Department for saying that the lap that they posted looked just unimpressive, and he's right. It is unimpressive. Like I said, I think the interior looks great. The sound is not. I think in Automobilista one, it actually sounds better. The Madness engine seems to have like a yellowish tinge to it, so that's going to be personal based, right? Some people are going to like that, some people aren't. It's just, I think people might have been expecting a little more, and I just don't think it did itself any favors, which is unfortunate because I really am looking forward to it. It's just this may not have been the right way to do it. Then, like you said, Kyalami is coming to AMS2, which is great because especially since they've redone the circuit, I don't think we've gotten to try that in anything.
No.
So that'll be cool. Then they talk about another car coming to AMS2. A sprint race is a new Brazilian series that they're going to include 260 horsepower V6 with rear-wheel drive. English is hard. Rear-wheel drive. And oh my goodness, sequential 6-speed shifter. I should just give up life now.
That looks like a Megane.
It's a Megan. Yeah, kinda. It almost has the nose of like a Lexus, though.
Yeah. Yeah, like very much so. With that
RF, what is it? Yep. RCF, RFC, whatever it is.
Yep.
So anyway, cross my fingers. I'm hoping that AMS2 delivers.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm still excited. I just, like I said, that probably wasn't the right way to deliver.
Oh, we are fine. We are fine. Let's see. What else? iRacing has some screenshots of the latest track coming to the dirt side of things. Fairbury Speedway coming to iRacing soon. I think you said you knew this track, right?
I know of this track, yes. Little quarter mile. They just had one of the most exciting late model. It's a big late model, super late model dirt. One of the biggest races they had, and it was an exciting finish. The guys were throwing slide jobs, and the guy couldn't. I guess the guy that was up front didn't have power. He didn't have power steering, and it was like a 100-lap race or something.
Oh no!
Running, and he was so worn out at the end. The guy threw a slider in 3 and 4, and he was trying to. He knew he couldn't do the crossover because his arms were just dead.
And
so he just put his foot in it and tried to just shove his car basically around the outside of the guy and couldn't do it. They got together.
It looks like. Go ahead.
You would have almost thought it was a dirty slide job, and the guy was like, "No." He's like, I had nothing in my arms, and there was no way I could cross him over. So he said the only thing I could do was just put my foot in it on the cushion, bang off the wall or bang off of him, and just see if I could make it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but it was a great race. But yes, that's the track.
It looks like a little quarter mile, super wide track. It looks like. No, not so much.
It's me.
Yeah.
Me.
I love the looking at the things. One thing I will say, I am a huge fan of the way these types of tracks look in iRacing, because you get those old school bleachers in the background. Like I think when we mentioned this track coming, I was like, oh, that looks like a total county fair track. You know, it's like that track's got to be at the fairgrounds. That's not just a track off the side of the freeway. That's what, and you could tell just by the surrounding parts to it. And I love that. I mean, I will give iRacing credit there. The photos look like a real place. You know, it doesn't look like it's just generic background around it. Like the whole thing looks legit.
So. I agree. I think they do a good job with that.
All right. What else? Oh, this is small news. Well, I guess it's big news. This is you.
This next. Is me. Well, I just saw in the chat that they sounded like they released ACC and the Kunos guys released version 1.0.7, which is the update to the tire model, the 5-point tire model. So this was just funny because I thought, I understand it was a little bit of a jerkish response. Where's your version 1.0.7 of your unfinished game? No, if you're trying to get a little bit more info, maybe that's not exactly the way to ask. But sure, you did get a response. But it sounds like, from what we've seen in the chat, 1.0.7 is actually out now. So I'm going to give that a try. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever driven a sim, then gone away from it, and come back to it, and there have been updates, but they've never said that they've updated the physics or the tire or something, and you swear that it drives different?
Right.
than
Right.
when you tried it the last time.
Yes. Yes. I think that there are many times that they do things that they don't tell you, but but it might not be that they even thought they were themselves. Maybe it was just computation number stuff because it's tire change. But it wasn't a major change to the physics in terms of their intention, so they didn't mention it. But patch 1.01, 02, 03, 07, and then you come back to it, and sure enough, it does seem like it handles different, perhaps. Absolutely.
I swear something changed.
For the good or the bad?
I remember my opinion was I really enjoyed driving the cars in ACC. Like, I really liked it. And now I haven't touched it for a handful of the prior updates, maybe since version, I don't know, 1.03. And I drove it last week in trying to, reacclimate so that when they released 1.0.7 with the new tire model, I could have a basis of comparison and talk about it. It doesn't feel the same. And I'm like, so I'm like, well, maybe it's me, maybe. And I keep going through the cars thinking that maybe it's me. I swear that something is just a little different because the cars don't stick the same way. It feels more like AC to me than originally did. And I'm like, I don't like this anymore. I don't like the way the cars handle anymore. And I'm looking, so I start looking for updates. They don't mention anything about updates, man. I'm like, I must be losing my mind. And so I go back to the cars and drive them again. And I drive all the cars and I'm like, I don't know. Could be just me, but I do not enjoy the way they drive now.
Tom Jones says that Heat 3 has done a bunch of updates and you ought to consider going back.
Yeah. I don't know. The back end just doesn't feel the same.
A few people are agreeing with you, actually. A few people are saying that they've recently tried it again and thought the same thing, that something's different.
See? Okay, because we were kind of chatting about it in your Discord, and I'm like, maybe it's just me. I need to keep running it. And I've been driving it since, and I'm like, this does not feel the same at all. Like, I do not enjoy the way this drives like I did. Something feels like it's changed. Maybe it's a track thing, and maybe it's not a car thing.
Right.
But something has changed. Maybe it's an aero thing, but something feels different enough that I question. I've gone back and actually looked at my hand movements and the attitude of the car that I was driving in the beginning versus I'll record myself and then watch it now, and it doesn't even look like the same game. It doesn't even look like the same sim. And I'm like, of all the things, if indeed something has changed, which I will not say is for sure, but there are other people agreeing with me.
Right.
Why would you mess with something that was so good? I don't like the way AC does most of its GT cars.
Right.
It's just not something I enjoy. But it like now feels like a hybrid between iRacing and AC. The back end has it gets to a point and then it just breaks free. And I'm like, no, the great thing about the original one was
that the cars were gatherable.
Like, yeah, you gave me the limit, right? It gave me where that edge of traction was, and if I stepped over, I understood why I stepped over.
Right.
Not this stuck and gone thing. So the lateral grip in the back end of the car just feels different, and I'm a little frustrated because I really enjoyed the way ACC drove initially.
Right. Despite not liking those cars.
Maybe this 5-point tire model will bring it back to where I have fun, but I definitely don't enjoy it at all now.
Well, I will find out on Sunday. I was going to save this till the end of the show, but on Sunday we are doing a SImpit patron fun race Sunday morning at 10 a.m. running Assetto Corsa Competizione. Our sticker winner, Car Heroes Troy, hosting the event for us, but we will give the password out. Actually, I've given the password out to everybody. As soon as I go live with the stream, I'll give the password out to everybody else. The patron guys already have the password, And so, yeah, I'll be able to give you my opinion next week's show on if I think Assetto feels any different. But I'm going to have to race to the checkered, so it's not just sample. It's like, well, I'll know. Yeah. You know when you run a race.
The sim contender brings up, Chris Hayes said the physics. It wasn't the physics. It was actually the force feedback that he was talking about. It wasn't the physics engine. It was the force feedback and the way the force feedback is relayed to the wheel. My understanding, it can't be the same physics engine because it's not even the same. It's not even the same engine, period. But they were speaking as to how the force feedback is relayed, like the data points that they're using. It's basically the same thing, except they're using more of them. It's a little finer detail for the force feedback. My understanding, when I was talking with the Kunos guys, when I did last year with E3, it is not the same when I was talking to them. So,
okay.
That's to my understanding is not the way it works.
Let's see here. R Factor 2 coming out with their roadmap came out yesterday, or actually the day before. It's already the 2nd. I can't, time. Jeez. Yeah, it's when you obsess on projects, you disappear for days and forget what the calendar says. Anyway, their roadmap, talking about some of the latest, greatest new things coming to and what they're working on. And again, every month I applaud them, but I'm going to applaud them once again because I appreciate, and in our next company, I'm going to probably say the opposite, but I appreciate the way that R Factor keeps us up to speed with what's going on. Like, I feel like there are very little secrets going on in the R Factor world, and I'm sure there are, but they give you enough of what's going on to know that it's worth sticking around or buying or getting involved with R Factor 2. And the first one being the McLaren Senna. And I have a bittersweet relationship with the McLaren Senna because I was originally going to go to London and turn one of these into a sim. And in the end, I didn't go to London, which is good and bad. I was glad I didn't go on one hand, and I was really upset that I didn't go on the other. But more importantly, the McLaren Senna is coming as default, R Factor 2 content from Studio 397, which that's quite the car. It's a single car, it's not going to add to. I guess you could do a racing series with McLarens. And then they're gearing up for World's Fastest Gamer 2. Is it? Yeah, Gamer 2. Is this 2? This would be 3. No, this would be the 2nd because they really kind of removed the first World's Fastest Gamer, the one that Rudy Van Buren won.
Shadow, though, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Shadows.
So
kind of the next. That whole thing was kind of weird.
Yeah, is this Rudy's job, World's Fastest Gamer 2? No, this is what the Shadow is, that one. This one is the actual eSport-ish competition.
No, and we've got a thing on World Fastest Gamer later that'll kind of give us a clearer idea of what they're doing and what Rudy's, job has been since. But I am looking forward to the Senna.
It's a beauty car.
Kind of cool.
That is about as much you can make a street car look like it was actually a race car from the beginning, and then you're like, is that a race car or is that a street car? Like, there's something about that shape and that size.
The bodywork is just wild.
It is. It's no Corvette. No.
So I wonder. I've seen back and forth in the chat. I am not totally positive if this is the WEC version or what version this is because they don't specifically say it in here, do they? I don't recall them saying which version of this car. Maybe we'll get multiple versions. Maybe that's a thing.
McLaren Senna GTR.
Yeah, it doesn't say. So I'm not totally sure what version we're getting of this car, but either way, I'm excited to try it.
I'll bet you there's some visual cue that some super McLaren person is like, oh, no, that's that one. See the taillight and the diffuser? Yeah, that's that one. In addition to that, for anybody who's going to be at Sim Expo this year, R Factor 2 will be there at Nürburgring. So that's next month, by the way. Is that, September, I think. September, third week of September. So you'll be able to see what's going on with the R Factor and meet the gang, which is always fun. That's what I like about those sim racing expos. It's not just getting to go see it. But when it's a real trade show, like, and this is why I slam E3 now, I'm going to guess that when you get to the R Factor, wherever they are, you're going to be able to talk to some of the people who actually know and love the game and the sim and can talk passionately about it, versus when you go to E3 and you run into some 16-year-old kid just wearing an EA shirt but doesn't know the first thing about anything. So anyway, Sim Racing Expo, you'll be able to check out R Factor 2.
I want to make something clear here. It doesn't make it clear what version it is. Just because it says Senna GTR on it doesn't mean that it can't be the theoretical race car. You don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. To me, it is not clear. It doesn't specifically say, is this a street car, track day car, race car? Because there's a very small defining line between those. So I don't feel like it's obvious just because it says what the name of the car is right here, to me at least.
All right, next up. Oh, this one makes me laugh. This is what I meant. The next story is the polar opposite. Oh, I let in. You get the next. We'll flip over here. So SImpit today posted, or actually yesterday, we're continuing. Now remember, I'm going to hold them to this. Months and months ago, and it wasn't even that many posts ago because they post nothing. They talked about being more transparent, giving us more information about the development of GTR 3. And we've heard not a word in months and months and months and months. I mean, like, far longer than we've not heard a word from Fnatic on the Podium software. But SImpit has really not said anything. So the only news we get from them is sort of, I don't know, I'm almost insulted. They're from the UK. I'm going to say it was lost in translation. They didn't mean to insult me, but they're continuing with discussions regarding what will be the best release window for the highly anticipated GTR3. So as we've received zero news on the game, the sim, and anything about it, now the only news we get is that they're sitting there pondering when's the best time to release it. As though it's sitting there finished with the bow wrapped on the box, ready to go. Just when is the best time to give this gift to the world? Anyway, I'm being a little sarcastic, but I was really hoping that we were going to get more development news, and we still haven't. But I guess it's close. I guess that's where the news is.
The only kind of pseudo news they've had that even touched on development and showed anything was October 19th. That just says we're celebrating our second birthday.
Right.
Development is progressing well, but they still don't really say anything. I was trying to find a post so they show like a screenshot September 27th of last year. There on August 21st, they said they were excited to be at Gamescom last year, but they were just talking to publishers. There was no, again, there's nothing. I keep scrolling backwards, and now I'm into June, and I still, June 21st last year is when they updated their Simbin Studios UK. It's such an odd thing to announce it so early.
Right.
And not have anything to show. Why didn't you just wait?
September 7th, 2018. Sorry we've been quiet. Our team and partners have been focused on further development.
It's so odd.
August 13th, 2018. Over 100 followers for our new page. We'll be sharing more over the coming months. Watch this space and keep sharing, guys. But they really, since that day, this is August 13th, 2018, there's been like zero news on the development of GTR 3, other than they've changed studios, they've moved studios. We have a picture of a bee humping an egg. I'm not sure what that is.
Like Amir pointed out, I mean, they've had some personnel changes. Like in those posts, you can see that they're hiring.
Right. Yeah, we talked about them hiring many a time.
This is why you don't announce something
right
so soon.
They could have just said, we're building a development. We are SImpit. We are building a development team. And then let all of us minions out here be like, GTR3? Right? I mean, so they could have teased better, too. They should hire a marketing person first.
I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me, because all this does is instill no faith in the company, instead of doing the thing that you were trying to do by announcing GTR3, which was get people excited about it.
Yes.
And I think it's gone the opposite direction. I think the longer it goes on without any sort of concrete, here's what we're building, here's what we're aiming for. We got some teaser shots a long time ago, and that's basically it.
Oh, the teaser shots were like very
everybody got shot wound up. Yeah, everybody was like, wow, this is really cool, GTR3. And then they kind of said, well, it's not going to really be like a hardcore sim. This is going to be different than Race Room. It's a different development team, different studio. Like, this is a separate thing. And everybody's like, oh,
VR is taking notes.
Odd. And then it just to me, in my perception, it's continued to go on this like slow downhill trend for people being excited about it.
I like that comment. GTR3, at least it's not an early access.
Burn.
I agree there, and I am optimistic to see a developer with 2 steering wheels on their desk. That makes me feel good. The other one that I liked,
didn't they do the Fnatic podium or something? Post, I don't know.
Oh yeah, they got their podium in. That was some of their big news. Sim Racing 604 says Feel VR is taking notes marketing wise. Well played. And there was another one I saw out there that I missed. I don't know. I missed something else that I liked. So sorry I missed you.
All right, on to some esports related content here. iRacing, the Gfinity Supercars eSeries. The qualifying begins today, which was yesterday.
Australia-New Zealand competition.
So with that, we've got some squad. They said squads, but it's team announcements for the series. But right now, qualifying is open.
Squads.
And then they're going to have a draft? Wait, what? I got confused. I didn't see that. The time trials are open to all iRacers, but the top 16 drivers from Australia and New Zealand will then compete in a series of 3 qualifying races on Sunday, August 4th, to set up the Gfinity Supercars eSeries draft on the... Why? Okay.
Why do they always have to do this kind of stuff?
Why do we have to make it so damn complicated? Why can't we just make it straightforward about qualify, or we're going to take these people?
It's a competition for the competition.
And then we're going to have qualifying spots for the last few people. And then everybody goes into the draft, and then everybody gets drafted. To me, this just seems a little overly complicated.
Yes.
But it is a great idea. Like Supercars getting their own series, like that's great. Like,
yeah, I'm all for that.
Supercars, so
I feel like so here's my take on this. It's the jump the shark in season 1 mentality. So I'm a huge fan of every show that Discovery makes for the first 3 years. But then I find about year 4, they forget the reason everyone was watching the show. So I'll use Forge and Fire as my example today. I love Forge and Fire. But at some point, instead of showing me how knives and swords are made, they're going to make it, they're going to take all these diversions and distractions and do all these twists and turns. And it's like, man, I've watched your show for 3 years because I like watching people forge metal. Not because I want to hear about his friggin' wife and kids. And I just find that all of those shows take that turn in the third or fourth season. All of them across the board. Doesn't matter. Pawn Stars did it. They've all done it. And I'm there at Pawn Stars to learn about weird things. I don't care about Rick Harris or whatever his name. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care about Richard Rawlings. I care about cars being built. And you know, add a little humor. Sure, I'm not opposed to, but now it's like you'll watch a show and it'll be like 50% other and 50% while you're there. Well, these series are doing that from minute one. It's like, stop adding all these twists and turns. Just make it a straightforward freaking competition. Keep it simple so we can all follow along as educated viewers and not make us all feel like morons for not reading the fine print in order to understand the competition that I'm either entering or watching, you know?
Yeah, again, maybe we're on our own island. I just feel like
they're all doing it. But
you should make it a straightforward process that is easy to follow along with, so everybody knows. So we're not here having to ask questions. The worst thing is like when we do a story and then chat goes, "Wait, I thought they were doing this," or "Wait, I don't understand why they're doing this." That to me says it is not as straightforward as it should be, and I don't understand why we need to overcomplicate. Either you qualify into it, or you're already in.
Right.
And you can have, you know, hey, we're keeping the top 16. Everybody else has got to qualify, right? And then that's it. And everybody picks their own teams. Or these guys are qualifying, and then that puts everybody into a draft. Not the top 16 are going to race to see who's going to be where in the draft and what seed, and then we're going to, and then.
But wait, there's more.
Ugh, why? Yes. Oh, Tom says the Jack Nicholson, you know. And then somebody else had something in here, and I missed it. I lost it.
As you look for that,
everything got to be so
Motorsport also chiming in on this new Supercars, Supercar squad. So I guess that's an Australian thing. I guess we're not teams. I guess you have a rugby squad, not a rugby team. So that's my interpretation to down south English. Supercar squads named eSeries signings. Jared Filsell and Joshua Rogers were both signed to
Waukesha and Andretti United.
Waukesha.
Waukesha.
Andretti. Oh. Waukesha and Andretti United. There you go. I know Joshua Rogers' name. He's one of the guys we talked about many a time in the oval dirt winners category. His name comes up often on the show.
Oh, I know what it was. Somebody asked me about Dakar 18. I did try Dakar 18. I forgot.
And
I did try Dakar 18. It's not worth $2.
How long did you play it?
Okay, so here's the problem. So I fired it up. Looks great. It's running on the Unreal Engine, though. So I can already see similarities in the problems that it's having, like ACC did versus this. Great thing was it detected all my inputs. It detected all of my hardware, but would not let me remap anything. It was the most bizarre thing. So
like, was there an option to be able to? It just wouldn't let you.
So it gave you a spot to rebind your keys for your keyboard, rebind if you're using a controller, and then rebind if you're using a wheel. Great. It's got a little more than I was expecting as far as it actually gives you, I won't say it's field of view, but a seating position, forward to, front, back. I even think there might have been a steering wheel option. And then it had a seat height adjustment, which I wasn't expecting. So there were good things in there.
Right.
But when I tried to map my controls, especially my throttle, brake, clutch, and handbrake, it wouldn't do anything. It never would recognize my throttle no matter what I did. It didn't just swap them. You know how sometimes they'll get confused and maybe it'll think like your clutch is the throttle?
Right, because it's super sensitive or something.
No.
It just was not going to take anything.
No. So I thought, well, maybe it's a multiple input thing. And then I got irritated because we're in 2019.
Right.
Multiple inputs should not be. I'm playing GTR 2, which will take 3 inputs. Give me a break.
Right.
And so, but I said, fine, let me try. And it's still, I have my Fanatic or my Thrustmaster pedals, and I just plugged them in just to see if they work. And it still was getting confused. Like I couldn't get it to do the thing that I wanted it to do. I'm like, all right, scrap the wheel. Let me see if I can just play the game with the gamepad.
Right.
Fine. So I try. And it starts you off in this menu. I apologize. I should have talked about this in the beginning, but somebody reminded me of it. You know when you're doing a tutorial, right? Or when somebody's trying to explain to you how to do something. You know when they start getting so long-winded that you can't remember where they started?
Yeah.
This is like 5 minutes of talking at me at least,
Uh-huh.
and 0 of doing anything. Now, I get that this is a more complicated game. They call it a sim. It's fine. Than normal because of the navigation part of it. And you can get out and
it's like a phone tap. They're trying to hold you over the 2-hour minute mark so that you couldn't return it.
So the funny part there is I never got around to doing it in the 2-week time frame because you have to, it's either 2 hours, 2 weeks. I was past the 2 weeks. So I messed up. I kind of thought it was going to be for the 20 or 25 bucks that I bought it for. I thought it was going to be a little better. At least I could get a handful of hours out of it. Just going, oh, even if it's a gamepad game, no big deal. I'll just kind of tool around with it and whatever.
Right.
But the problem is it talks at you for at least 5 minutes, right? And by the time you can actually drive, you cannot remember one thing of what they said.
Right.
Because instead of teaching you, like, this is how you do this, now do it. Right. Or while you're driving, now turn left.
Right. Or fragment.
I'm being very reductive
Fragment
here.
that 5 minutes into 15 minutes, but have you driving and then pause it and say, in order to shift gears.
Right. So that's fine. Treat me like I'm stupid and that I don't know what's going on, or let me skip each individual one. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But they go into detail about the navigation system. Fine. I kind of got it. As I take off, all of a sudden the car just starts veering to the right. What in the hell? What? What's going on? The only thing I can think of is that my wheel was still plugged in.
Right.
And I'm like,
that was the trouble I had with Euro Truck.
I'm like, why? Okay. I can play a regular video game with my wheel plugged in and it doesn't care. I can use my gamepad, no problem. But it starts so I'm like, damn it. So I unplug it. It kind of seemed to fix it, but every once in a while it would just start going. So I'm like, is it my gamepad? So I exit out, try a different game with a driving game with my gamepad. Works just fine.
Right.
So I go back to Dakar 18. It's not my gamepad. So I go back to Dakar 18, start the tutorial over again. I want to put my head in the microwave and turn it on because I got to listen to another 5 minutes of them talking because it didn't save. And as I'm trying to drive this thing, it's kind of cool. Like, it's in the deep sand. Truck, the Dakar trucks, and this is kind of cool. I'm playing with, the different views, which are fine. And no more than I want to say 30 seconds to 1 minute. You get to a point where you have to help somebody. It's in this like swampy, marshy kind of area. It's almost like quicksand, but it's not. And you've really got to work the truck through this area. So you're going real slow. And there's like, hey, we should help this guy. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll help the guy. I've kind of gotten the hang of the controls. I'm kind of adapting to every once in a while. It kind of wanders. I get over to him. Okay, how do I get out?
You can't remember from your 5 minutes of instruction?
I can't. I don't even know if it told me. That's how bad it is. I don't even know if it told me. And there's no button prompt to tell me how to get out of the car. And I'm like, okay. I hit every button on the gamepad. So Now, mind you, I reset all of the settings for control bindings in case I had messed something up. So at this point, I've got default controls. I can't figure out how to get out of the damn truck. So I'm like, I start pushing buttons on my keyboard. I go into the controller profile looking for how to get out. I can't figure it out. And at that point, I was so irritated. I was just like, no, uninstalled. I'm done. Because if you can't be bothered to, in your tutorial, because this is still technically the tutorial, can't be bothered to give me a button prompt in a tutorial to tell me how to do the thing you want me to do, forget it. I don't want to. This is useless. So,
you know,
in the meantime, stranded person has been eaten by vultures. Yes, and they deserved it.
But that's so, like you said, it's 2019. That's inexcusable. I had problems.
Technically, it was 2018, but I said 2019, so yeah.
I had problems with controllers on Cody's 2019, and I think the problem in the end was that I was using a third controller, my button box. So I had wheel, pedal, and button box. And in that configuration, it was defaulting to thinking that my button box is my primary controller. So when I disable the button box, I can get everything to work just fine, knocking it. But it did acknowledge 3 controllers. But my main point here is, there's a movie called Throw Mama from the Train, one of my favorite movies. And one of the lines, he's a writing coach. And a lady she's writing a book about submarines. And she just doesn't know the first thing about anything about submarines. And he's like, hey, if you're going to write a book about submarines, you might want to do a little research on what the controls of a submarine are called, you know?
Sure.
And it's sort of like, and this is why I get so outraged at this problem. It's 2019, you're going to make a driving game. Maybe you should do a little research on the first thing that drivers do, like how do they operate the car.
That is the frustrating part, because it's like they get insular and don't remember that we're not in your head. We weren't there when you were developing this thing. So while you may understand all these things, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you want me to do. By the way, it doesn't have mouse support. So it's so unfortunate, because the idea of this game is really a cool idea.
Yes, I was super
really
excited.
Looking forward to trying to figure out how to navigate through these checkpoints, because a lot of times there's not real roads. You're just kind of going off in the distance. And you've got to use your navigation. I was really looking forward to something that kind of broke up the norm of just driving around a track.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like this, but they made it so difficult for me to get started. I'm like, I don't want to. If I had tried this before in the 2-week window, I would have been returning it. I would have asked for a refund. But that's my fault. I didn't do it within the 2-week time frame. But it's terrible. It's terrible, and it's the reason I'm so irritated is because I like the idea. I wanted it to be something that I could play, but it literally wasn't going to let me. Right. I mean, I wanted to get out and start taking the shovel and freaking digging the guy out and let's go and take off again.
I got a winch, his little spin tires combined,
And the irritating part is I've seen other people do it. I know there's a way. I just couldn't figure out the button combination to do it.
Well, again, they're just trying to take you over that 2-hour mark.
Right.
Just trying to trace that call, Billy. Keep him on for 15 seconds.
Yep. So if you can't tell me in your game how to do the thing you want me to do, I have no time for you.
Were you even able to complete the tutorial, Arjun?
No, I was stuck right there. I was stuck because I could not get out of the vehicle to help dig the guy out. It was awful.
Oh, that is awful. That is awful. All right, other news. We got a few more to cover, and then we'll bring the show to a close. Also at iRacing, they're just promoting and talking about the eNASCAR Ignite series. I'm talking about it because this is their, outreach to the youth program where kids can win a $10,000 racing scholarship, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, there are very few opportunities. Me and my buddy all the time, we talk about how robbed we were in this world because we weren't born to wealthy parents. Otherwise, we would have been household names in racing. And I'm like, well, I think that's a stretch. I think those guys have talent too. But I hear where you're coming from. Anyway, so this is the Ignite series. They've got that going on and starting off at New Smyrna Raceway in Little Legends car. Last week there at Stafford Motor Speedway. And if you have kids, they can still get involved. It looks like eNASCAR Series runs Thursdays at 2 p.m., 8 p.m., and 10 p.m.
Those aren't the easiest cars to drive either.
No, you're going to have some skills if you master that car. That thing's fun. And then it twitches on you, and you're like tumbling, and like, whoa, hey, that escalated quickly. I think that's the way you say that.
Yep.
All right, this one's you. This is all you. I set that up so perfectly. This is you.
What's me, huh?
You're next.
The world fastest game. Okay.
See how I did that?
All right. Thank you. So first, world's fastest gamer says, want to know more about world's fastest gamer? Check out this Autosport in-depth report on the amazing drive prize up for, that's odd English. Drive prize. I thought it was me having another moment. Up for grabs worth more than 1 million. And then we click over to the Autosport article, and they kind of make this claim: we can't deny people their dream. 80% of the people who race online want to race in real life, so we're going back to our roots. Let's go and put them in GT cars. So they explain why they're putting people in the GT car versus putting them in an open wheel car, saying that, if you're an older driver that's not somebody that's like 10 or 12 years old, it's easier to get you into a GT car than it is an open wheel car.
God, I could have thought of 1,000 less offensive ways to phrase that, but okay.
Right? I was like, okay,
we can't just make it about the choice. You got to make it about the people you're trying to protect. They're the old guys.
So they talk about World Fastest Gamer during its first season in 2017. They talk about hiring Rudy, and then because they impressed him so much, they have kept him on in other roles, and Rudy wants to parlay the relationships that he's made into hopefully, an actual driving a racing career, because that's literally the thing he talked to McLaren about when he was hired, is like, when do I get to drive an actual race car? And they're like, well, that wasn't exactly our goal. So they've he's been so impressive for them. I think they've kind of helped push him in that direction, or give him chances and possibilities for that direction. So that's cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, GT cars are awesome. They're a great way to get in, especially because we talk about the gentleman drivers, so they have the pro-am stuff. Like, it definitely, I can understand why it's an easier avenue for them to take somebody in this competition and then drop them in some form of a GT car, like a GT4 or a Cup car of some sort.
I believe the winner this season is in the Aston Martin and will be in the 24-hour Le Mans. I mean, not 24-hour Daytona, 24-hour, not Le Mans.
So, basically it's just kind of pumping it up. But they are making, I think, a nice... It was kind of weird. We were talking about the Shadow deal. Shadow deal kind of just came and went, in my opinion, where the world's fastest gamer, the original one, had a big splash in sim racing and the esports side of it. This, I think, is more, again, like, and they are using world fastest gamer moniker again, that this will make a larger splash in the esports sim racing community.
Yeah, yep.
But for the final news item, since we're talking about world's fastest gamer, hey, you can get the chance of a lifetime as a mobile gamer to race for real with Gear Club.
The guy's holding his phone. Guy's holding his freaking phone. You could be Rudy Van Buren. This incredibly accomplished real-life racer, incredible sim racer, engineering mentality, earned his right to everything through all the channels, wins World's Fast Gamer, impresses them to the point that they keep him on, put him in historic McLaren cars at Goodwood, turn him on to a super pro Porsche career. But yes, you could go through your cell phone playing Gear Club and match those accolades.
Hey, Phil, I did go to the options and control layout, and it didn't work. So thank you. Which I already stated. So anyway, the problem I have with this part right here is you were trying to get it to be taken seriously. And from the outside perspective, this is not serious.
This isn't serious?
Okay, maybe it is. So I don't know.
I think
have a problem with Gear Club itself. I just have a problem with it being promoted into a competition where you are going to be driving a race car. You are going to go drive a GT4 car, right? Everybody from the outside, when you start having this, it is an optics, it is a perception problem.
Yes.
It gets taken not seriously.
Completely. So here's their quote. They say, but not everyone can afford gaming console, let alone a full-on PC and gaming rig. We want to open the opportunity to everyone. Cool, you know what? Why don't you have a mobile competition and then give that guy a PC and a rig so that he can enter next year's competition properly? The other thing is, this is also just a setup for humiliating the heck out of somebody.
Well, why can't we do, you just said something, why can't we do a competition where you take the 10 best mobile racers, right? Phone, tablet, whatever. Okay, so let's use Gear Club. And then put them into a rig.
Right.
Where they're driving with a wheel pedal, and then take the best one, give them the tools. So make it its own competition. Give them the tools, put them in, and then take it from there. Take the best one and then put them in, because now they've learned the tool set.
Right.
They're not at such a disadvantage from going from that. And then do not, because they did it with the Shadow, do not use part of the competition with Gear Club on mobile devices.
Right.
Don't
dummy everybody else down to that. You know, they don't take the PGA Tour and then go play around a miniature golf for the final. You know.
So I don't have a problem with Gear. Be clear again. I do not have a problem with Gear Club itself. I just have a problem with the optics of it not being taken seriously.
Arcade Racing makes such a good point. A new iPhone actually could cost you more than a PC and a friggin' rig. I mean,
you're dumping money into it all the time.
Well, because a new iPhone's like $1,200 for the top of the line. So as they act as though mobile gaming is some affordable option, it's like, well, yeah, if you actually are still getting a free phone, but most of us are paying $29 a month for our $800 to $1,200 phones. That's not cheap. That's not affordable by any means.
Yeah, console. That they're making the point right there. The console is cheaper.
Yeah, way cheaper.
I mean, I just don't.
Even the PS5 is going to be less than an iPhone 10.
My assumption is RAM? Because they don't tell us, right? My assumption is that they're getting money for advertisement from Gear Club, which is fine.
Right.
So let's make it a stepping stone. Why don't we just, like I said, use that, then take the 10 best guys and make it up. You can make it a whole show.
Yep. Oh, that's a show in itself.
You're promoting Gear Club, and if somebody does good, look what you get to do. You get to say Gear Club provided this guy with the tools to be really good in the sim racing competition. But take those guys, put them in rigs, get them up to speed, and then don't use Gear Club in the final competition. Right. Let's do something like that.
Yep.
Then just make it look silly. Like, I can't believe how embarrassed I was watching the Shadow competition, and they're using tablets to prove themselves
as racers.
As a racer. It's like, we already have enough problems with the stigma of us, driving with the steering wheel and on screens. Like, you're just making it even worse.
Yeah. Tom says no triples, no buy, but no, they have triples. You just need 3 phones, and there's a little bracket that holds them together, and you can still do that. Then it's real. Then it's legit.
Oh, that made my face hurt. Oh.
Wow. All right. Well,
I think we're good. We're gonna save Neon Knight. I'm gonna save your question for next week. So I did get the question, so we'll do that one next week. But we've gone 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think.
Yeah, we're over.
I think we're pretty much done.
We had no topics of discussion, and we are longest show ever in the history of the world. All right, well then let me move on to a couple entertainment for everybody out there. Just a reminder. Tonight we do have the Friday Night Truck Series. Well, it's not a series yet. The Friday Night Truck Fun. We're gonna do heat racing in the dirt trucks. So it's gonna start. I can't remember if it was 5 or 5:30. My mind's slipped. It'll be under the hosted section on iRacing tonight. Pro 4 trucks at Wild Horse. I know that I can remember which track is which now. I think of a horse as bucks you. So the horse is the one with the whoop-de-doos, and Wild West is the one with the giant hill. So we're at Wild Horse. If you would like to join us, the password will be SImpit. Security dangers. SImpit 2019 will be the password. I really hope we get enough people to get some splits. We did this last week, but we only got like one group, so we didn't get all the splits. But it could be a whole night. If we do all the heats and splits, it could be an entire night's worth of racing. That's what I've paid for. So hopefully I'll get my money's worth. But come out and join us. It'll be at the password Dakar 18. And
again, I've wanted to like that game. I really did.
I did too. I promoted it before it came out. Excited.
I shouldn't have to Google. I shouldn't have to do any of those things. And yes, it is. If you're not going to tell me how to play your game, then I think it's garbage.
And whoop-de-doos. It's the rhythm section. Sorry, everyone gets mad when I call it the whoop-de-doos. They're whoop-de-doos for me because I make a mess of them. I end up going the wrong way. Right turn, Clyde, when I go over those things. I'm pretty fast that track, but then there's the one lap that just takes me out of the race. So that is tonight, 5 or 5:30. The password is SImpit 2019. Hosted section under iRacing. Pro 4 trucks will be fun. I will be streaming it. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier in the show, Sunday at 10 a.m., we're going to have our Assetto Corsa Competizione SImpit patron fun race. I'll let everybody in. The password on that one has already gone out to the patron group, so everybody who's part of the inner circle here at the SImpit already knows. Troy, our sticker winner, Car Heroes, Puppies, he has he's hosting it 10 a.m. Sunday. I'm really looking forward to that. I really haven't done enough multiplayer in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So with what you guys were talking about earlier and the handling differences, I probably should put an hour or two in before I go to that race.
I would.
And I don't know what car I'm going to pick. We'll be at Brands Hatch. I do know the track we'll be at. We'll be at Brands Hatch, and that should be fun. During the stream, I'll give the password out, so if you're watching, you can still join us for that one. Just be ready to go at 10 a.m. Sunday. All times I just gave are Pacific.
You can do like they did in the eSport competition this weekend. Everybody drive Bentleys except for one guy in a Merc. The whole field was Mercedes. That's another thing. We talked about... No, we didn't, actually. The people that are in these races and sometimes the lack of awareness that they have by not putting themselves in races and only hot lapping is astounding.
Right.
These are supposed to be the best of the best, and yet I constantly see silly mistakes. Not racing hard mistakes. You know, two guys are going in the corner, one guy doesn't give, and they bump, and then they kind of go off the track. I'm talking driving down the straightaway and just move over on somebody, or spin out, or drop a wheel off and spin out. Why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Let's if you're gonna do this, how about putting in some race practice, not hot lap practice, that you know what it's like to be around other cars in different scenarios.
Yep, it's just as important.
Well, when it just reminded me of it.
It is, though. Arcade Racing asked that we should have a YouTuber race that includes all of us: Jimmy, Dan, Chris, Billy, me. We've discussed doing such things. We've found that it's best, and it's been done in the past, by the way, but it's best when a Studio 397 does it with R Factor 2 or a Race Room does it, and they give the invite. Getting everybody else to go play nice with everybody, it takes a lot of coordination, and it's not even in everybody's best interest. But what it is the best interest is when we all get involved in like new content coming out from any of the big houses. And I would actually argue or beg those companies to get a little bit better about hosting those events, because I think they've always gone off fairly well.
Yeah, we did the one with Race Room, and that one actually worked pretty good.
Yeah, and they should all. So I'm putting the call out to all you guys. You know, R Factor, Race Room, Assetto, Corsa, iRacing, Grid. I don't care what it is, but if you have new content, new game, you should be contacting me, Billy, Chris, Jimmy, Dan, and the works. And I think everybody would be thrilled to host, to stream it from their end, which just gets you some really amazing exposure. So the best way to make that happen actually happens via a third party, not through any of us. But I think all of us are down for such a thing. So, and then the last topic I have, anything else on your mind today?
No, sorry. I apologize to people. I've been very doing something to alter the course of our topics today.
You need more sleep. There's Brandon. Brandon's in the house. We were talking about you earlier, so now you're going to have to go back and watch the whole show, Brandon. Anyway, the last piece of news, and this actually is what we were I guess you don't have to go back. This is what we were talking about you. We are going to have a special guest for next week's show. So on next Friday's Beyond the Sim, you're going to have Derek Spear of Derek Spear Design. This is the king of button boxes. I mean, and more. I mean, he builds more, but I mean, Derek Spear Design was sort of the guy who changed the button box world of sim racing. I think it's safe to make that statement. He's going to be here just being part of the show. We'll ask him what he's up to there at DSD Design, Derek Spear Designs, but ultimately he's here just to give his thoughts and opinions like me and Billy, and that should be fun. And we'll be having a contest. Actually, he's going to give away a Track Boss button box to a random commenter on next week's show. So get your comments ready. Definitely tune in for that one. It should be fun. It'll be great just getting to meet and hear Derek Spear's thoughts on general
I've
sim
never
racing
had
topic.
the chance or the pleasure to have a conversation with him, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun, and we'll do more of that in the future too. It's something we always had in the original concept of the show. We did James one time. Somebody mentioned maybe getting a John Sable on the show. Something like that. Anyway, we'll work on other guests for sure, and that's going to do it for this one. So, Billy, have a great weekend. Any new gigs? Any big things coming up for the band?
The next deal for the band is August 31st.
All right.
We're playing the show with Skin Lab and there's one other touring band. They have a support band that's going with them. Autumn something. Terrible. I know. I don't. I have a hard time remembering all the different bands that are going. But
you'll know by that week, right?
Yes. Oh, I better know. Because if you don't, you're in trouble. But yeah, that's the next deal for the band.
So that's going to do it for this one. Happy Friday, everybody. Get out there, do some racing. Come join us tonight in the trucks. Come join us on Sunday in Assetto, Corsa, Competizione. But whatever you do, get out there, have some fun, do some racing. That's going to do it for today's show. This is Beyond the Sim. I'm Shaun Cole. That's Billy Strange. And we'll see you on the track.
See ya.